See Beyond My Chaos, Part 2. I never had to worry about money when I was sponging off my dad, so the real world did hit me hard, and so did the noise that I had not been surrounded by in months. I felt sensory overload in the bar with Ronnie. That night, we sacrificed a bit and stayed at the bar drinking. I filled him in on everything that had happened and how Aunt Marjorie ratted us out. We were both sad that we had lost a lot on that day, but it was nothing compared to what we had gained. For someone who worked a lot and did not seem to have much fun, he sure could indulge debauchery. We stupidly drank the night away like the young fools in love we were. We knew that the next day we would have to face the world without a nest. When there were fewer people in the bar and it was getting late, we got a room and went straight to sleep. The next morning I woke up with a splitting pain in the middle of my head, which made me regret overindulging. I glared at him as he came closer to me, basking in the sunlight and not looking a little bit fazed. He gave me a weird concoction which instantly made me feel better. To say that he took care of me would be an understatement. If I did not have him, then my adjustment to not having money would have been rough. The first thing we did was get out of town. We walked around the place where we stopped, not knowing where to go. That was until we saw the sign of a handyman. My boyfriend is good with his hands when it comes to everything, so we went into the store and charmed the store owner. It was a sweet old lady who had grown too old to take care of the store herself. I did not have any skills to speak of, but shopping. So after a few days of looking, I got a position to fill in for someone on leave at a clothing store. At lunch, we would meet close to either mine or his workplace, and have sandwiches. The old me would have never had a packed lunch, but I loved these moments because we would get to spend time together, telling each other stories. There was still so much we had not divulged to each other, but we managed to get through it all. And just as we were discovering all these amazing things about each other, we felt the blows that our flaws had. We had just moved and were working as waiters at the same place, when one day, he asked me where I'd gotten the money. Surprised that you did not use that money to run away the first time you got to the farm, he laughed. Well, actually, I stole it from my dad. I mean, it had felt vindictive when I did it, but now that I knew what it was like to make my own money, I saw the error of my ways. You stole it? He looked at me with shock in his eyes. And from my uncle, I added. I could not lie to him. That incident had been playing through my mind for quite some time now. Babe, why did you do that? You should have told me sooner. They could have arrested us. I'm sorry, okay? Look, the money I had could have lasted us for a while. You could have come as you were. You do not understand. I did not want us to struggle, I said. You care too much about material things, he shouted. Some of our coworkers looked at us when his voice hitched up. He gave me one last disappointed look. He cooled off, but I could see that he was not okay. He said that he had been that person before, and he did not want to take it from Uncle Nate after he helped him out. I asked what I could do to fix it, and he said that he wanted us to pay back all the money, with an apology note. Since we were making good money with tips and thinking of settling here, we could afford to pay them back. We never got a response from my dad, but the friends that I was still in contact with said that he was saying that I was dead. I guess that was one relationship I was never going to be able to fix. I did not care anymore. He treated me like trash. One morning, when we both miraculously had an off day, I woke up to an amazing smell of bacon. When I saw him, he had his back to me and an apron on him. I went to him and wrapped my arms around him. What did I do to deserve you? I asked. You got lucky, he chuckled. We had breakfast, which was when he told me of an idea that he had. It was nearing a year since we had run away, and we did not have high school diplomas. He thought it would be a good idea for us to attend night school and finish off our senior year. Well, that opened a whole other can of worms. It was work upon work, and we barely had time for each other anymore. I avoided him most of the time because I hated studying and he was obsessed with it. There were times where he would chase me around the house with schoolwork. Things only eased up when it was winter and we were not so busy at work. While that put a strain on our finances, we got to spend more time together. And just when we thought that we were going to be able to have a better lives once we graduated, his mother of all people came into our lives. I do not know how she found them, but I had a bad feeling about her. She might cleaned up now and was now claiming to have a better job, but I could not help feeling like she was lying. I had been there and I saw the broken look in his eyes when he talked about his parents. She gave him the bad news that his father was sick and could not come and see him. In the beginning he was skeptical, but I watched him get swayed by emotions. There was no love lost between his mom and me either. She seemed to think that I was not good enough for her son and that he was taking care of me. There were so many arguments between us, and she ended up becoming a taboo topic in our lives. This led us to having the biggest fight yet, and for him to leave after saying, "You cannot let me have a family, can you?" which hurt deeper than a knife through my heart. He apologized for his words the next morning, but that did not stop him from leaving with her to go and see his father. We did not break up, but I saw that I was losing him every day. Rather than give up as I would have in the past, I decided that I was going to work hard and be a man which he would be proud of. Now I had my high school diploma with me, which meant that I could apply for some other types of jobs. He was gone for 6 months, but when he came back, I had already started the blueprint for my online fashion store. I designed most of the stuff and sourced the rest from niche suppliers, but I had something small going on. While my business was flourishing, my relationship was dying. It was like trying to water a dead flower. One day I would have to throw it out. One night, I had just finished working and I was lying in bed and thinking of all the good times we had had, when it was like I summoned him. He called me for the first time and he did not sound like he was doing well. He said that he had made peace with his parents, but his father had just passed away. I got onto the next flight where he was staying. Things between us might have been confusing, but I had sworn that I would be with him through all the dark times. He was a bit withdrawn when I first arrived, but with a bit of probing, he let me in. His mother was a mess during that time, but I tried my best to help with the funeral arrangements. She wanted him to stay after the funeral, but he said that he wanted to go with me. Before I went, she talked to me. "I know we have not gotten off on the right foot," she said. "Understatement of the year, but please continue. But I saw that way that you care for him. Please take care of him. I disappointed him and he has not forgotten yet, even though he swears to have forgiven us," she said. "I will do so. Thank you for letting him come with me," I said. "I want my son to be very happy for once. I saw how he was whenever you were together," she hugged me. "So maybe people do change. I was proof and so was she. It was just a pity that my parents never got the memo to stop being assholes. When we came back home, he was so proud of all that I had done in that short time. You can do anything you put your mind to," he kissed me for the first time in 6 months. I never wanted him to stop or for him to leave me again. For the next year and a half, we were the ultimate power couple. He saved up some money and started a small business as a handyman. He had always been one for manual labor, after all. We settled into a place where we lived, taking a break once every few months to travel to places overseas. Seeing those places I dreamed of, and that my mom probably saw, meant the world to me. And like a desperate little child looking for affection, I shot her a message when we were in Rome for a week. To my surprise, she agreed to meet with us. She was very shocked to find me there and to find out what had happened. My father refused to let her speak about me when she asked. She was married to a young Italian guy, but she seemed to be happy and living her best life. Things were not 100% okay between us after that encounter. I still disliked her, but that made me realize that I did not need her in my life. A few days before we went back home, we went to the ruins of Pompeii, since he was big on history and architecture. "It is so strange that so many people can never resume their day," he said. "I do not know. It's a bit beautifully tragic," I shrugged. I do not see how," he laughed. "Well, most of them were lovers, locked in an embrace, and they will never leave it again," I said. "I like how you see the world, always finding beauty in darkness," he smiled. That moment could not have been more perfect. I wanted him to be with me forever. We had braved those storms and come out victorious, so we would go through more together. So, there on the ruins of an ancient city, I got down on my knees, and I looked into the eyes of the man who loved me. He saved my life. As I started to speak, I saw the tears welling up in his eyes. He rarely showed so much emotion, always handling everything with a clear head. He showed me that kindness has no price, and that money can never replace true love. I'm able to work hard today because of you, and I feel less like the world owes me. You make every day worth living, and I learned something new about you too. I want to walk my last days on this earth with you if you'll let me. Will you marry me?" I asked. Some tourists had gathered around us and we were waiting in silence. He nodded and gave me his finger to put the ring on. Then he kissed me. Everyone cheered and congratulated us as we walked away. I knew I was probably taking risks by asking in public, but I was very confident that we were ready to take the next step. We had a medium-sized wedding after having a debate over it. Over the years, we had established friendships and business relationships with so many people, and I wanted to invite them all. He wanted to keep it close friends and a little bit of family we had. We ended up finding a planner who was able to plan a wedding that was to both of our tastes. I could not help crying like a baby when I saw how everything was looking. 3 years before, we had nothing but the clothes on our backs and a tentative fresh relationship. But now we had it all, not just in marital possessions, but true love. I spoke to my father once in those 3 years, when he called me to ask if I was true that I was getting married. I thought he was going to change, apologize, and build a relationship with me. But my father is a monolith, and nothing can ever trope or change him. I invited my mom, but things were still awkward between us. His mom, who I was now very close to, was also in attendance. The moment that we were officially married was the best moment of my life. He chuckled when he saw the fireworks. I asked the planner to set him off after we kissed. I could never contain you, my chaotic husband. He brought me in for a second kiss, which made the guests whistle and say, "Aw." We took advantage of the honeymoon in more ways than one, staying in bed, going on long walks, and spending hours talking under the stars as we used to. There were no longer those little boys with messed up pasts, but our love was just as pure. We decided to move out of the city and buy a house in a small town. It was small, but it was one of the quickest developing towns in the state, which helped both of our businesses. We fell into the old routine of married couples, which I thought we would escape, but it was not even boring. It was nice to give someone a look and they would know exactly what you're saying, and to bond over the latest in the newspaper during breakfast. But that did not mean that we did not spice it up. Occasionally, we would go on a date and just be young and free for some time. It was on such a night that we stumbled upon one of the biggest blessings of our life that we did not even know we needed. We were walking home after a night of playing board games with our friends, Chris and Harriet, when we saw a dark shadow putting something on a bench and then running away. Because of how curious I was, I stepped forward to see what it was. The most beautiful baby was staring up at me, and I swear all was silent for a bit. I called Ronnie over and we discovered that the child had just been abandoned. To be honest, my heart broke and I wondered who would leave such a small baby. The note said that the mother was too poor to provide for the baby, so she just had to abandon her. Just like my parents did to me. I saw a tear fall down Ronnie's eyes. We must take her or him home. Or maybe we should call the police first? I asked. We did not call the police because it was so late, so we took the baby home and took turns taking care of him for the whole night. In the morning we called the appropriate authorities. News spread and soon the whole town knew about the baby, but no one came to take her. We talked about it and put a request to be able to adopt the little girl. It was a long shot. We did not think that we would be approved because we were a gay couple, and the place we stayed was not so progressive. But it was fate because we finally got our Amara a few months after we discovered her. Her name was inspired by Italy, where I had proposed to Ronnie. Amara kept us on our feet and brought back life into our eyes. As she grew older, she and I would play pranks on Ronnie and drive him mad, while he would be the only sane person in the house. But one thing was common, we both loved her and wanted to protect her. We devoted everything we had to her make her happy and giving her a life filled with much more happiness than the one that we both had. Our little house was always filled with joy, laughter, and acceptance. No matter who she grew up to be, we would never forsake her. Sometimes I would look at them, him teaching her how to do certain jobs, and wonder how I'd gotten so lucky to have those two people in my life. I had been so sure I was headed for disaster. Well, that was a roller coaster of emotions. I do not blame you if you went through a box of tears. Patrick and Ronnie proved that love is not perfect, but it is more valuable than anything else. They overcame each hurdle and came out stronger each time. Now that is true love. For more beautiful stories, please comment and subscribe. Till next time, bye. The end. Donate to us on Ko-fi to support our channel, link in the description. Thanks for watching, consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.